Hi, everyone. Welcome to the Honor MD podcast, where we talk about health, beauty, and wellness. I'm Ursula Diaz, co-founder of Honor MD Skincare and beauty expert.
And I am Dr. John Diaz, also co-founder of Honor MD Skincare and a board-certified plastic surgeon here in Beverly Hills.
We're so excited about our topic today. It's something I'm so passionate about. Our topic today is mindset.
Yes, and this is something we talk a lot about personally, and that we're both passionate about because we both have learned so much over the years, and you especially have really applied a lot of thought and insight to try and reflection to try to improve this part of your life, and I've learned from you as well about mindset.
So, well, thank you. Yeah. I've learned a lot from you about mindset. But to those of you who don't know what mindset is, it's the lens through which you see things. So there's positive mindset, scarcity mindset, growth mindset, something we're so passionate about, and fixed mindset. So I think the most important thing is being aware of what mindset is, what it means, and how it applies to your life. So I never heard that term until I was an adult. And the first person I really heard talk about it was Sarah Blakely. She's the founder of Spanx. And she really attributes her success to mindset. And so, one of the things that she would say is everyone, they tell you what to think. And you learn that in school. You learn what to think in school, but you don't learn how to think. And that I thought was so interesting. And I love to read. And I love hearing what people I admire like to read. So I remember reading an interview with her, and they said, name a book that changed your life? And so she said, oh my God, that's so easy. The book that changed my life was, oh my God, I'm forgetting the title. Oh, How to Become a No Limit Person by Dr. Wayne Dyer.
Okay.
So I'd wanted to read it for many, many years. And I finally read it, 5 years ago. And it too changed my life. And it was all about mindset and how to see things differently so that it serves you. And everything that happens to us, it doesn't serve us, but there is a way to see it so that it can propel you forward instead of holding you back.
Absolutely. No, it's reframing your whole way. And definitely, we've shared with each other like how that applies to our own lives. And looking back, and I can talk more about it, is how I kind of stumbled upon these concepts and had to figure them out really quickly in order to be able to do what I did. But it's something that, since we've been talking about it, and you introduced me to Dyer's books and also these concepts, and after hearing it more concretely, I'm like, wow, yes, that is actually what transformed my life.
And you figured it out by yourself. And I 100% did it.
Yeah, but I can't take credit for it because it kind of was by accident.
Well, I think that the way you do it is remarkable, and you have to find a way that works for you.
Right.
I think for me, the things that I really struggled with and I needed something to help me get through them were anxiety, crippling anxiety. And it was something I didn't even talk to you about. And I remember the first time I brought it up and you were like, you're not anxious, but I hid it really well because it was this internal struggle of rumination and these thoughts and I remember I would waste whole days being stuck on something that was bothering me either in my business or managing an employee, and it was so painful to be stuck on these things that in the moment felt huge but really didn't matter, and there were simple solutions, but I was in a weird mindset where I just saw everything as a really scary problem. So for me, it really helped me deal with anxiety. And another thing I really struggled with was perfectionism. And so it really helped kind of break those very unhealthy cycles for me and help me move forward. I think the anxiety and the perfectionism, it froze me. Yeah. And so there were so many things I wanted to do and I couldn't do them because I'm I'm not ready. Well, it's not perfect and I don't like this. And I was just stuck. I was just paralyzed. And I remember telling you about it and you were like, you can't, in residency, you don't have the luxury of having those problems because you don't have the time.
Right.
So it was, it's an individual journey. So I heard what you said and I was able to apply some of it to my life, but I do think it's something that is really unique to you and how your life unfolds and how you use these tools.
Yeah, absolutely. No, 100%. And I have to say that I've been a witness to see your growth and I've said this to you before, but you are amazing because you learned all these concepts and then you applied them, and you've definitely been very successful in applying them, because I've noticed the difference in the way.
Thank you.
Yeah. But, and the other thing that I have to say is, in the last couple of years, with the rise of podcasts, I listen to a lot of business podcasts and like other podcasts. And this topic, it's actually something a lot of people struggle with. So I wasn't aware of like how widespread these things are. And I know I struggled with it too when I was younger, but it's actually something I think everyone struggles with. So that's why I think this topic is so important, because I don't care who you are. All of us can improve the way we look at things and improve the way we approach things.
Yes,
Yeah.
I agree.
Yeah.
And also, like, I didn't grow up hearing about mindset, but once I started to research mindset and what it means, Carol Dweck is, I think, a PhD who is, I guess she kind of coined the term growth mindset, and she wrote a great book called The Growth Mindset. And once I listened to it, I was like, oh my gosh, I was raised with exactly the opposite of this, which is called fixed mindset, that basically you're born with skills and you have abilities or you don't. Where Carol Dweck's growth mindset is that, you know, we're all born with abilities, but if you're willing to put in the work, you can grow. And so everybody's, you know, individual abilities and willingness to be better and grow will determine ultimately how successful they are at whatever it is they're trying to be successful at. Yeah. And to me, it was like this light bulb moment, like, oh my gosh, of course, like that makes so much sense. But when you hear over and over, like, well, you're just not good at that, like just move on, or like you just don't have it, like whatever that it is, you know, depending on in what time of your life you hear those things, it can be really, you know, it can solidify kind of like a pattern of behavior. So anyways, it was such a light bulb moment for me, this whole growth mindset. And it opened so many like mental doors. Like, wow, like I just thought that was something I could never be good at. But studies have shown that if you know, take a class or put 10,000 hours, you will be your best version. I'll never be your best version. You'll never be my best version. But that you can improve, you can grow. Absolutely. And to me, that was a really, really enlightening moment for me, and also like an inspiring and a motivating one. Because how much better is it to see your life as something, as an opportunity to grow in every possible way, as opposed to like, well, like I'm older now, like I'm never going to learn a new language. But you can learn a new language.
Absolutely. No. And what you're saying is, I think so many people feel the same way. And unfortunately, a lot of people never learn these concepts and never learn how to apply them. But like I said, you know, you've been the kind of person that you're reflective, and you look and you search this information out and you apply it. You know, I've joked around with you before that everything I've ever learned, I learned in residency.
Yes, and I love the way that you break this down and how this worked for you. So I really want you to share this, because these are actionable things that make it really easy to follow. And like, this is your blueprint, and I love this.
Well, thank you. But like I said, you know, I think I stumbled upon these things and I just had to figure them out. So, you know, I often refer or often cite my residency as like where I learned these things. But really, if I have to trace it back to its origin, it's probably high school. And you know, Ursula.
Or Oprah.
Or I shared with Ursula that when I was a kid, I would run home from school and watch Oprah Winfrey. And
oh my God, Oprah, we love you.
Yeah, and like I would listen to her shows, and they were great, because it was always a lot of the topics were about this, about improving your life and making your life better, and so on and so forth. So, you know, I have to say that I probably trace a lot of this to the high school I went to. I went to a very special high school. It was extremely academically rigorous, and I came from a background where I really you know, didn't have that academic support. And so I started attending the school when my classmates were like incredibly advanced. And a lot of their parents were professionals and very highly educated, whereas mine were not. And so I was at a disadvantage, and I had to very quickly learn how to catch up. So probably, you know, one of the first things that I learned was what you were just saying about how you can be better. Like maybe you can't be like anyone else. So when I sat in this classroom and I looked at these incredibly bright, motivated, intelligent kids, you know, it was daunting to me. I felt like I could never be as good as they could be.
Mm-hmm. That's so intimidating.
Super intimidating. Yeah, I just felt, you know, and it was like we were from different worlds. I was commuting 2 hours from Queens, and then some of these kids, you know, would.
And your school was on Park Avenue.
On Park Avenue in Manhattan. And what was crazy is I would walk out of school, And sometimes there'd be limousines in the front of the school waiting for some of the students because they had their own private drivers.
Wow.
And then I would proceed to go to the subway and take 2 subways and 2 buses to get to our house in Queens.
I'm getting emotional because I remember you saying, oh my God, I can't believe I'm getting emotional over this. But that, like,
because you love me. This is very sweet.
No,
Ursula has tears.
But I think most kids, right, would have maybe been overwhelmed.
Yeah.
Could have got it.
Yeah.
But you had said that, like, one of your motivations was that, like, your dad had sacrificed so much, and like the least you could do. Like, how did you put it? Because I'm gonna mess it up.
Yeah. Well, now you're gonna make me. Yeah. No. So, and this is another thing I think with mindset is you have to find like the power or energy. You have to find somewhere some fuel to drive that mindset. So, like if you think of mindset as this machinery in a way, you have to find the fuel to feed that machinery. So for me, when I was sitting in that class and looking at these classmates and thinking like, I'm never going to measure up to these people. How could I possibly catch up to these kids? You know, and like, I'm from a completely different world. There's no way I can even catch up. What the fuel that I got was thinking, wait a second, I was accepted into the school for a reason. So that was the first thing. It's like, wait, I earned my spot here. So I'm here. I'm on the court, so to speak. I was asked to play. So I'm here.
So you had like a mental mantra, because that's very powerful.
Yes.
So that was like your mental mantra.
Yeah. That I'm here. I made it. I was asked to be here. So I deserve this spot, number one. And then the fuel was what you were referring to. So my father is an immigrant from Dominican Republic and really had no education and had no, was from a very kind of disadvantaged background. And just worked really, really hard. He showed me through his actions how discipline and perseverance and determination can lead you to succeed. And even though we at the time when I was in high school attending the school, we lived in a very modest. In fact, we lived in an apartment when I started. So we have very modest background. But I saw his hard work, and I felt like I like owed this to him. I owed it because I knew his journey from this country to here, to all the sacrifices he made. And I was like, I can't let this opportunity go away. And so that was the fuel that really powered me.
And don't you have like a name? That's beautiful, by the way. But don't you have a name that you call it? Because John mentored a medical student who came from the foster system.
Yeah. We're
so proud of you. You know who you are.
Yeah.
And he's now an anesthesiologist in Texas.
That's right.
But you kind of coached him through some tough moments in medical school. And was it grit? It was like, I feel like your flame or something. You like gave it a name and you would talk to him about it. Yeah.
Well, whenever like I've mentored younger students, I always talk about the fire.
The fire. Okay.
A fire. You need a fire under you to really push you. And again,
And then you talked about feeding that fire. How did you feed that fire?
Well, just every day thinking about like what my father did.
Okay, so that was your fuel.
And I did a lot of visualization as well.
Which is another super powerful tool that you stumbled upon.
Yeah, just kind of like, again, I found all these things by accident. But like, so, my school was on Park Avenue. Park Avenue, for those of you who are not familiar with Park Avenue, it's a very wide street. And there's in the center of Park Avenue is I don't know what the proper term is, but it's where like they have like planters and things like that. So because it's such a wide street, sometimes you have to cross it in two parts. You have to cross to the center median.
And it's a very fancy street.
And it's and especially where our school was, which is our 84th Street. It's like the prime. That is the epitome of the Upper East Side, across the street from the Metropolitan Museum of Art and from Central Park. So it's like the epitome of the Upper East Side. Like that when people refer to the Upper East Side, that's it. So this median separates, the one direction of Park Avenue from the other. And I just, my father, I was very familiar with. He grew up. He would show us where he grew up in the poor rural village that I took you to see as well.
Oh my God!
Which shocked us.
It was beautiful, but like no running water, no electricity.
So my father, I remember one time he took us through the path that he would walk from his home to the school, and he had to cross through a little stream called the Noroyo.
This is what I remember. Yeah.
Yeah. Now I'm getting emotional. But he had to cross a stream. He had to cross the stream to get to school. And he just, it was him showing us like, oh, this is my house, whatever. So that always, that image was very powerful. Like wow, like my father had to literally cross a stream. It's Spanish, it's called an arroyo. So I remember my visualization was like, I'm on, excuse my language, I'm on freaking Park Avenue, and this is my stream. This is the stream I have to cross, is this Park Avenue. Like, and so like I felt like time was like I was in like this parallel universe, and as I was and whenever I crossed Park Avenue, I would imagine my father crossing that stream.
Oh, that's so beautiful. Oh my God. I feel like I never cry. So sorry, I'm so emotional.
Oh,
I love your father.
Yeah, no, my father passed away many years, and so this is something that's emotional for the both of us, and Ursula and I, we've spoken so much about this because this is that we feel so deeply about this because Ursula also went through a lot of had to persevere and to be determined and persistent to attain her dreams. So this idea of a struggle of like really changing the way you think about things and approaching things and just not quitting is something that is very central to who we are.
Yeah. And I think too, like, your mindset helped you be successful in a place where you easily could have given up.
Yes.
Right? You could have been intimidated. And I think in those situations, people either shut down or they rise.
Yeah.
And you rose to the occasion.
Lucky enough, yeah.
That's amazing. And you were able to use visualization. You had like a self mantra.
Yeah.
And
the fire.
And a fire. You were able to use those three things.
Well, there's an author that we both love a lot, Malcolm Gladwell, who has addressed this issue because, there are many instances where sometimes children young students are put in the school, and if maybe it's a little bit more academically rigorous than what they've been used to, it can actually damper their ambition because they don't feel like they're good enough.
And we've seen that happen.
Yeah, and I personally saw it happen. Yeah, for sure.
And there's great organizations like Thrive Scholars.
Yes.
They used to be called the South Central Scholars.
Yeah.
And basically, just to give them a little shout out, they would take extremely bright kids. It started in South Central LA, and they would help them, get into these elite colleges. But then when they got in, I mean, they were at the top of their class in South Central LA, but they were going up against people from Park Avenue who, had
right.
AP classes and whatever. So they were not able to cut it. So what they did was they gave them support. Like during the summers, there was like this whole camp it was an academic camp, and they would support them in wherever area they needed. And they were able to rise up and to catch up and to do really well.
That's right.
So it was something though, like, right, you think you're in, you got it, but you don't. Like it's like this uneven playing field.
Yeah.
So I love that story. That was your high school. And then you have an incredible story that, medical school I know wasn't easy, but then residency. And so when I would talk to you about anxiety, like, not that you don't get anxious because you do, but I think you use the tools you learn there to overcome anxiety and things like that, right?
Yeah. It's basically survival. So in residency,
don't die and don't kill anybody.
Yeah. So for those of you who may not know, the surgical residency is an incredibly brutal experience. Usually lasts anywhere from 5 to 7 years, where you basically live in the hospital. That's why it's called a residency, because you basically live in the hospital like a resident. Like that is your home. And so it's an incredibly anxiety inducing because you're thrown all these responsibilities, and it's literally survival. Like you cannot stop, and you have to keep going. And so you were saying how sometimes people are frozen trying to make a decision or whatever, and I later learned this term analysis paralysis.
Yes,
which I'm like, wow, that's a genius term. Because I saw so many of my fellow students and residents fall into this trap of like, when you're a resident, sometimes you're dealing with a patient who has a complicated issue and you don't know what to do, and you're frozen because you're like, should I do A? Should I do B? Should I do C? And as a surgeon, what we're taught sometimes is you just have to do something. Like you make the best decision you can in that moment, and you move forward. And then sometimes that decision maybe doesn't work. Like for example, I mean, I'm using something kind of simple, but like let's say someone's blood pressure is going higher and higher and higher and higher, and you don't know why, and you can't figure it out. All right, well, you try this medication and maybe that doesn't work. Now maybe if I had been frozen and didn't try anything, then I wouldn't learn that medication was not going to work. But by trying it, I'm like, okay, that didn't work. Now I move on to I tried A, now I'm going to move on to B, and you keep going.
So take that first step.
You have to take that first step, and this is what I was.
And even though it might be wrong, and I also think that comes down to gender, because in business, so we work together, and early in our business, I would I would get analysis paralysis, and I just wanted to make the right choice. And I was like, okay, I got to talk to everybody. I got to compare. I've got to ask for quotes. And a lot of times you'd be like, okay, that person. And I'm like, what? Like, you didn't even read the email, but you were like,
I still do that.
But as you grow in business, you learn that you have to. But I think men in general are more confident doing that, where sometimes women struggle. Like, no, I need to make the right answer. Whereas a lot of men, and obviously this is a generalization and a stereotype, but it is true. Studies have shown that men are more confident in just making a guess or making the quickest decision because it's getting it done. Where women often struggle with that. Like, well, what if I'm wrong? Like, I should do more research. Maybe I should get a certification. Yeah. And men generally are not like that in business, and it serves them much better. Yeah. So I had to really work on that.
Yeah, and you're right. Like on paper, it makes much more sense to sit down and look at and compare if you have the time. Unfortunately, like I said, in residency, we literally didn't. So I learned sometimes you just have to take that first step. You just have to try something, and then the true right answer will reveal itself. Mm-hmm. And that works well. Thankfully, fortunately, I would say it's worked really well in the vast majority of cases for myself and business and everything like that, and my practice. But there are times where sometimes it doesn't, but that's part of the trial and error. And then with experience, that's the thing about residency. As you go through each year and you make these mistakes and you learn from them, and then you understand, okay, this is the right way to do it. Then by your fifth year, that's why it takes so many years. By the fifth year, you're like, you don't make those mistakes anymore. You just know, okay, in this situation, this is what I have to do, because I've tried all the other things and they never work.
And residency is like baptism by fire, because people's lives literally depend on your decisions.
Right.
So luckily, most people, like me, like my wrong decision, nobody was dying. And I did have to remind myself of that. But it was, learning about these tools, like a mental mantra, fueling your fire, visualization, they do make a big difference. And studies have shown this. And so having this growth mindset that, you can learn new things, you can grow in places that, you weren't confident in before. They really help with things, or I can only speak for me, and I know they can help other people. They do help with anxiety, because you're able to kind of change your lens. It's like putting on different glasses and knowing it's not the end of the world if you get it wrong. And it's not the end of the world if you need to fire somebody. And that by being frozen and not taking any action, the problem seems bigger and gets bigger than it initially was. It usually just seems bigger than it is.
You bring up an excellent point, because this is something we've talked about and we try to teach our daughter, is that sometimes failure is good. That's how you learn sometimes.
And that's this whole thing about so Sarah Blakely, that's her big thing, like not being afraid to fail. Yeah. And that's such a valuable thing. And, right. She talks about how her father at the dinner table would be like, okay, guys, how'd you fail today? And they were like, what? And they would say like, well, we didn't fail. And you'd be like, oh, you guys are boring. That means you didn't try anything new. So what a wonderful way to grow up, and feeling like it is safe to fail.
Yes.
And, we have friends from many different backgrounds. And I remember hearing that for the first time over dinner. A friend of ours was encouraging her husband he quit his job and he was starting a new business. And she reached over and grabbed his hand and was like, it's safe to fail. And I mean, granted, depending on where you are in life, that can feel really, really scary. Yeah. But having that mental mindset that like it's okay to fail, and failure means learning. It doesn't mean like the end of something. It means the beginning.
And this can apply to small things, like the failure can even be just an embarrassment. And this is another thing, like socially, let's say sometimes people are embarrassed to speak up, or embarrassed to share their ideas, or embarrassed to ask a question. I mean, I spent so many years in classrooms. Sometimes like I had a question, but I'd be afraid because, what are they going to think if like I ask a dumb question? Yeah. And that's part of asking those questions, and maybe the question is not a great question, and that's like kind of a failure. But when you ask questions and you try and you put yourself out there, you get better at it.
You ask great questions. Wow. Whenever we go to anything, like whether it's like a school function or a professional thing, I'm always like, John, ask a question.
See, but that's because I asked so many bad questions when I was younger.
There's no bad questions,
right?
Like
Course,
there's some that don't sound as intelligent,
Or,
but having that confidence, 100%. You have to ask questions or you'll never know.
Yeah. No, you're 100% right, and that's such an important part of having a healthy mindset is being able to say, you know what, it's okay to make a mistake. It's okay to have a failure because we can grow from those experiences.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Yeah.
What do you feel for you personally has been maybe the most powerful tool that you've applied for yourself?
I love this question because I had a recent breakthrough, and I think anyone can relate to this. Like we hear the same message over and over in slightly different ways, and then one day it just clicks.
Yes.
And that's what happened to me recently when I read The Let Them Theory by Mel Robbins. Love this lady. She has a great podcast. And the whole idea is that, when someone does something to upset you, you give away your power, and you waste so much energy on something you can't change. So she has this mantra, let them. Like someone is going to be rude. There's traffic, and it really can be applied to anything. And I've heard that before, right? You only get so much precious energy a day. You can't waste it on other people's choices because you can't change them. And I've heard it so many times, but it really clicked for me with the let them theory, because her whole kind of messaging is that we waste so much time worrying about what other people think and being upset about something somebody said to us or some behavior someone in our family has. And if you just pause and say, let them, you will immediately feel a little bit better. Mm-hmm. And if you can just accept the fact that you have zero control over what somebody says and what somebody does, it was so powerful because I am wasting energy. Why would I be mad? Why would I ruminate about that thing that person said? Because me being upset about it, it's not going to change it. It's not going to make them not say it again in the future. But I'm wasting so much mental energy and time, and I am giving away my power. So I'm done with that. And the second part of the Let Them Theory, you should read the book or listen to it, is let me. So, an example from my personal life is I had an employee that was not doing a great job, and it was a pattern, and I had to keep meeting with the employee, and this didn't get done, or this thing happened, and let's talk through it. And every day I would complain to you, to myself, to somebody that would listen. And then I remember reading this book and thinking, no, let them not do their job well. Let me replace them. Let me let them go. So it's like taking that action. So, right? So disengaging or kind of letting go of this idea that you have any power over anybody else's decisions and behavior and choices, and then taking responsibility for what you do have. I do have the power to replace an employee. So do it. I mean, it's scary, right? It's scary, right. But I'm wasting so much energy being annoyed and complaining. Why don't I do something about it? So it's a really simple kind of phrase that helps you understand a bigger concept and put it into practice over anything. So to me, that's a tool that I'm using a lot lately. No, that's incredibly powerful message and such a great lesson. And you shared that book with me, and I started reading it, and it immediately resonated with me because you're right. It's 100% true. There's so many times in our lives where we let other people and what their comments are totally affect us and ruin our day. With the holidays coming up, I really hope people take this to heart.
That's a great idea.
Because, the holidays are great, but they're also very stressful.
Yes.
We're trying to make it perfect. We're trying to buy all the presents. We're trying to have the perfect Thanksgiving, the perfect whatever holiday that you celebrate. And there's a lot of feelings and there's a lot of family dynamics that are difficult. And if you can kind of go into it knowing let them. But let me, let them make the rude comment that they make every year. Let them say the weird, uncomfortable thing. But let me, create a boundary.
Yeah.
Like, okay, first of all, let them say whatever they want, because whatever face I make, whatever comment I come up with, it's not going to change that person's behavior. But let me have a boundary. Like, let me put a time limit on how long I talk to this person. Let me remove myself before I get really upset. Let me spend less time doing that. You know.
I'm so happy you brought this up. I was just thinking to myself, so many times when people have discussed mindset or techniques or strategies to improve mindset, they're always kind of referring to things internally, you know, like, this is what you can do, this is how you can think positive, blah, blah, which is great. But neglecting the influence that outside people have on you, that's not giving the complete picture, because so many times you can say these things to yourself, and then someone says something that ruins your day, and all of those strategies go out the door.
Of course.
So it's so important to incorporate that. And
all
including
the new
that.
ones. Yeah, like any new one that you hear, like, you have to try them all on, and what works for you might not work for me. And the let them has really helped. And is it perfect? Like, does it work for me 100% every time? No. But one of the things that does help me almost 100% of the time since I learned this is, like, okay, let them be bitchy. Let them say something passive aggressive. Let me stay laser focused on how I want to show up. Let me stay laser focused on my goals. And then it completely redirects me into, like, oh my God, why am I spending energy on this? That's right. Like, I'm running this business. That's right. I'm running my household. That's right. Like, I'm getting ready for the holidays. And then I kind of forget about that. So it's like really kind of redirecting yourself. And I've tried that in other ways and it hasn't worked. Or, you know, there's grounding exercises, like, the 5, 4, 3, 2, 1, 1. Do you know that one? That's really popular.
You've told me about it.
Like, you know, see 5 like, what are 5 things you can see? What are 4 things you can touch? What are 3 things you can smell? What are 2 things you could taste? I don't know. I always mess it up. But then it kind of like just takes you out of this weird loop, and then it grounds you and you're kind of ready to move on to the next one. That one doesn't always work for me, but it works for other people. And it's like using, you know, which tool do you use when? And, you know, instead of being reactive, being responsive. Well, I can talk all about that now, but I've used a million tools. I've read 100 books. I've talked to a bunch of people to get to where I am now. So if you mess up 100 times, it's about starting over, right? And sometimes, like, you hear this a lot in meditation, that it's not about completely silencing your mind, because you can't, but it's about strengthening that mental muscle each time you space out, each time you start doing your grocery list when you're supposed to be focusing on your breathing. And I'm like, oh my God, am I going to spend my entire life starting over? Like, oh, I didn't journal for a week, and I know journaling helps me. If I journal every day, it helps me. But I didn't do it for 2 weeks. Oh, but here it is. I get to strengthen my journaling muscle. And I think it is. I think that's the whole point of all of these things, doing meditation, journaling, exercising, that when you fall off, it's about strengthening what brings you back.
Yeah.
Even if that's annoying or frustrating sometimes, like, that is the point, how you can get back and how many times you get back, because it makes it strengthening that muscle.
It brings it full circle, because then you're getting better at it each time. But you can't unless you take that first step. You can't unless you do that attempt. You can't unless you make a mistake. That's how you go back full circle, and then the next time you get better at it and better at it and better at it. And hopefully, no one's ever going to have it perfect, but at least hopefully you get to the point where, like, the things that used to really, you know, affect you or stop you become less important or less of a block.
Yeah. And once you can really internalize that you have no control over other people, that does give you power. It gives you your power back, and it helps you figure out where to put your energy. It's not worrying about what your mom said. It's not worrying about how rude the checkout lady was to you. But it feels
someone
like
crossing you on the road and like, you know, honking the horn and going crazy. And
totally.
Yeah,
like, no matter how many times you honk, they're not going to like come back and be like, oh my God, I'm so sorry. Like, it's not going to reverse that situation.
Right.
But 2 things I want to quickly share is that I struggled, and I still struggle with it, but it's at least it's manageable. Like, I can definitely tell you, like, days of mine are not hijacked by anxiety. And part of some of the tools that have helped me, that have helped with mindset, have been journaling daily. There are days I don't get to it. There are weeks I fall off the boat. Meditating, same thing. Using the Calm app. That's an easy way for me to do it in the morning or to do it at night. it's hard for me to be consistent, but it's that strengthening that muscle to come back. But journaling, meditation, exercise, even 10 minutes of movement a day has really, really, really helped improve my anxiety. Perfectionism. So really being paralyzed, not being able to put myself out there. Like, hey, I started a podcast with you. Like, I would have had to take a podcasting class and a producing class in the past. And it's like, you know what? This isn't perfect, but we're learning as we go.
Yes.
And we have momentum now. So if you can just, a really helpful tool is 10 minutes. Just do it for 10 minutes. And there are studies to show that if you do something for 10 minutes, you're very likely to keep on going.
Yeah.
Whether it's a workout, whether it's a podcast, whether it's a social media post, you just have to do it. And sometimes it feels impossible to take the first step, but whether it's telling yourself, take the first step, whether it's counting yourself down and imagining you're launching yourself like a rocket, that's Mel Robbins, or doing the 10 minutes or the first step, that's not going to work for everyone. And it's not going to work for you every day, but one of those might.
Yeah.
So I think perfectionism and anxiety, those are my biggest hindrances. And I probably will struggle with this always a little bit, right? Forever. But using those tools really helped me. And I hope that if anyone else struggles with that those tools can also help you.
That's great advice. And what's great about it is there's so many studies that prove what you just said about the value of meditation, the value of physical activity, and journaling, and all of, I mean, that's been proven over and over and over again to be very effective. So that's great advice.
Yeah, and you will lose your shit. I do. But then it's about the repair.
Yeah.
Right? And that there's opportunity for growth here, using your growth mindset, and whether you blow up at your spouse or your kid or the lady at the grocery store, that you can always apologize and do better next time.
Yeah, absolutely. No, that's great tips. I think for me, what I would say, the advice I would give is, I think understanding that you are worth it. Like my experience in high school, like I deserved to be there. I was worth it and I deserve it. So I think starting with that was very powerful for me, like believing that I deserve believing in yourself. And believing in yourself.
And telling yourself that every day.
Yeah, and believing that you were worth, that everything in life that you want is you deserve it. And you can go for it.
That's very powerful.
Yeah, I thought that was very helpful for me.
So daily chanting, I am worth it.
Yeah.
I deserve this.
Yeah.
Yeah, my grandmother told me that, and it made me cry, but I was feeling very intimidated. And she was like, how do you think I felt when I got to this country? Nobody could understand my English. It was horrible. And I would tell myself, I deserve to be here.
Yes.
And then I started doing that, and it does help.
It does, yeah. And then that leads to and that's the other thing about these kind of strategies is, once you start applying one, the next ones get a little bit easier to apply as well. Because once I started kind of believing that, hey, I deserved to be here, I earned my place here, and I deserve to do well here, then, that the mantra that I would repeat in my head of like, I can do this, or that, I can be just as good as anyone else, then it led me to be like, okay, well, then I got to start. Like, I got to start somewhere, and I got to start studying, and I have to start doing these things. So then the next thing was like taking that first step. Taking that first step of like, okay, these are the things I need to do. Okay, well, then I better get started.
But you are very disciplined. So what would you say, if anything, maybe because that's innate for you, I think. But like, what if someone can't take that first step? Like, have you ever felt like that? Like, I just can't. Like, it's just too scary.
Yeah, of course. I think you're right. I think that, when I look back, I think I always had this thing in my head where like, I just was like, there was no other option. Like, you just got to do it. Like, and then of course, like I said, everything I ever learned in residency, everything I ever learned in life, I learned in residency, because in residency, then that was reinforced. You just, sometimes there are things that you just dread doing, but you got to do them. You have to do them. So I think just understanding that, like, if you have a goal, and the goal requires a sequence of things that have to happen. For example, I wanted to be a doctor. Well, guess what? You have to go to medical school. So I guess I have to get into medical school. So what does that require? And there's a sequence of things you have to do. So understanding, like, if I want to get to this point, I have to do this. And you might as well, either you do it now or you do it later, but you're going to have to do it. So
and
might
the
as well do it now.
time's going to pass anyways.
Yeah.
So if you're having trouble getting out of bed, but you want to be an influencer or you want to start a business, you have to get out of bed.
That's right.
Count yourself down.
That's right.
Take the first step. Do 10 minutes.
Yeah, that's absolutely right. And then, yeah, I think those were the most powerful things for me, that led me to have the proper mindset that fortunately led me to, my career and where I am now.
One question for you, because I think you do so many things really well, but you do this really well. You don't take a lot of things personally. Yeah. And that's been a really hard one for me. Like, right. I'm like, what? And then like with the whole let them theory and like all these other tools I've used, I feel I'm in a much better place about that. But how do you not take things so personally?
I'm laughing because so many of the things that I've learned, it's because of these super painful experiences that I had as a kid. So I alluded to the fact that I went to this high school and like, oh my God, it was so painful because I was surrounded by these kids who were so advanced and whatever. And like, I had to learn really quickly how to adapt. But to answer your question, you're right. Like this let them idea, I was like, when I heard about it, I was like, oh, I feel like I kind of always done that. But it was because when I was in high school.
Why are you laughing?
Because it's I could laugh about it now, but it was very painful for me.
Did you get made fun of a lot?
I did, because I lived in two different worlds, Mm-hmm. So when I would go back to my neighborhood, I would be made fun of because I was a kid that was into school and I was like kind of the nerd and blah, blah, blah. Oh. And then when I was in my high school, I was kind of made fun of because I wasn't quite as polished as everyone else around me. And I lived in Queens, so like I got made fun of everywhere I went. So I had to very quick. So I had to very, very quickly learn. I had to let those things go. And what I told myself was, I know that this is the right thing to do. So I had this, I don't know what you call it. Maybe it was a delusion that like I was doing the right thing. Like I knew studying was the right thing. I knew that doing well in school was the right thing. So I was like, I can't care about what these kids are saying in my neighborhood because I know that I'm doing the right thing. And I can't let these kids in the school make me feel bad about what I'm doing because where I'm from is because I can't control that. It is where I'm at. So I just had like this very tunnel vision of like, I just got to do what I got to do. Mm-hmm. And I can't let these people stop me because I know that what I'm doing is right. So I guess the way I would say is, for anyone struggling with that is just understand that if like there are certain things we know is right. Like life, sometimes you're not sure, should I take this path or that path? There's so many different paths you can take. But sometimes there are paths that are very, very clear.
Yes.
They're very clear. And if you have that clarity of path, like for me, it was school. Like there was who's going to argue that doing well in school is good for you? Like, right? There's no argument. So it was so clear to me that was the right thing to do, mm-hmm. that I just felt nothing should stop me from pursuing this path. And so in the same way, what I would say in life, like with marriage, with relationships, with friendships, if you know this is the way you should be in your relationship, this is the way you should be in your career, then nothing else should stop you from that, no matter what anyone says, no matter what anyone tries to do to take you down, because you're doing the right thing.
So kind of having this laser focused tunnel vision on your goal.
And that belief that the goal you're going for is the right goal, and that's the right path. So nothing anyone else can say can take you away from that.
So even mean things, you Correct. Just don't take them personally, because that's not going to get you closer to your goal.
Yeah, it's going to take me away.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Okay, I love that.
So you learned a little bit more about me in my high school days.
I know. Oh my gosh, I love all these stories.
Yeah.
I love them. Well, I think that we shared some really important things. I think it's such a big topic. We'll have to talk about it again.
Absolutely.
And I really hope this inspires people to dig deeper, to find the tools that work for them. And if you have any specific questions, please reach out to us, because I want to know, like, did you grow up hearing about mindset? It's very popular now. Do you apply it to your life? Do you think it would change anything? Because I can tell you it has changed my life. It's helped me manage my anxiety. It's helped me be more confident and ambitious. And it's helped me let go of perfectionism. I still want things to be really good, but I'm not going to let it dictate my life anymore. I'm not going to let it hold me back from putting myself out there, growing my business, because I'm afraid I'm not doing it right or it's not perfect.
Yeah.
And it's something I work on every day.
Yeah. And I think, as I said, I've been a witness to it, and I can see firsthand how much you have grown and how incredible you've become at these things. So I can vouch that you are doing it. You're saying it, but you're doing it.
And that our kids are watching.
Yes.
And we have 2 girls, and I think it's especially important for women
yes.
who, maybe doubt themselves a little bit naturally, or are afraid to speak up, or they're not as bold as men in the boardroom or the classroom, and to really model. Like, it's okay to ask a question that may not be considered a good question. ask the question.
Yeah.
Or, advocate for yourself. That's a big one in our house. Like,
Yes.
if somebody says something you don't understand, ask them to explain it. If someone speaks to you in a way you're not comfortable, let them know. And, to advocate for yourself, and to know that it's possible to grow into whatever you want. And if you can't do it now, you can't do it yet. It's not that you can't do it. You can't do it yet.
Yeah.
And it's okay to fail. And it's great to fail when you get things wrong, because you know what to work on.
Yeah.
If you didn't get anything wrong, or you didn't know what you got wrong, you wouldn't know what to work on. So really enforcing these concepts with our kids and
Absolutely.
your kids, so that they grow up like one of these entrepreneurs who turns into a billionaire, but that, moves through life with that confidence and that ease of like, oh, that's okay. Like, I failed. Guess what? Next time I'm going to do better, because now I know what I did wrong, instead of like feeling really bad about yourself and then letting it prevent you from trying next time.
Yeah. And the only thing I'll add is that everything you're saying here, you've learned through reading the books and pursuing it and looking into it, and then you've shared it with me and I've read it. But what's interesting, and we both have acknowledged this, is, and I invite the listener to do this, if you look up almost anyone that you admire, a successful person in whatever industry that you want to look into, and if you were to like really hear their story and their biography and what led them to their success, we guarantee you it's because they followed a lot of these things, because this is kind of a foolproof blueprint to achieve the goals that you are going for.
Absolutely. And what you said really stood out to me about like this maniacal belief. I don't think you used the word maniacal, in yourself.
Delusional, I think is
You used delusional, and I heard a quote like maniacal. Like, you need
Yeah.
like such a deep and profound confidence in yourself to be the leader of an industry, to be an innovator. And especially for women listening, believe in yourself.
Yes.
It's not selfish. It's not conceit. It's ambition. It's giving yourself permission to go after big dreams. And if everyone who's super successful had this undeniable, unquenchable belief in themselves, that's how they got there. So it's okay for you to feel like that too.
Yeah, absolutely. That's great advice. And I think also very, very important for a lot of women to hear. So
Yes.
great. Thank you for sharing that.
Okay, well, thank you for sharing all of your amazing insights. I'm sorry I cried a few times there.
We got a little emotional.
We got
there.
emotional, but we hope that helped you guys. This is about wellness.
Yeah.
This is about longevity physically, but also mentally.
Yeah.
And how to level up and how to be better and how to grow and how to look your best.
Yeah, thank you. So thank you for listening. We invite you to follow us, subscribe, and stay tuned for future episodes of Beyond MD podcast.
Can't wait to see you next time.